Hey guys, this is Exodus Ablaze here, and today's video is all about the design process of a thumbnail. Now, this video isn't going to go into specific details and step-by-step processes. It's more of a thought process video that will then lead into those different videos. So if you see something in this video that you want to learn how to do, make sure to drop a comment down below and let me know so that I can make a video on that in the future. With that being said, let's get started. So before you start designing your thumbnail, you need to think about this first thing. What are you trying to say to your audience? What is your video about? What do you want people to feel and think about when they look at your thumbnail? What about your thumbnail is going to make people want to click on it? So what I did for this first concept is I took a Sea of Thieves image and I wanted to create something based off the image because I'm not going off of an actual video that I've created. This is purely off of imagination. So this thumbnail has this glorious sea dog and the sea dog ship, which represent PvP. So I said, hey, let's make a PvP tutorial thumbnail. Now I'm going to convey that by highlighting the PvP elements and having that be the first thing people see. So the first thing I see when I look at the image alone is the guy with the sword. So I want that to be the foreground of my thumbnail. This is going to be what is in the front of everything else. So what I did is I went ahead and cut this character out. Now I'm going to separate this and put this on a separate layer so that I can add effects to it without distorting the entire background. Now the next thing I did is I blurred the background. So what this does is it creates contrast and helps the audience see your foreground better than your background. And that is what you want to do. Now the character stands out clearly and you can tell this is the first thing people are going to see. Next, I moved on to text. So generally, it's best to have your text be on the left side of an image because people typically read left to right. But for this thumbnail, the character is already on the left and he's going to be, the main star of this thumbnail. He's the foreground. He's right there on the left already. So I'm not going to move him. I'm going to leave him right there and have the text on the right. Then I went ahead and chose a color for the text. Now, in this particular thumbnail, it doesn't really matter. I was trying to go with a more aggressive look, but the characters and the objects in the thumbnail already have bright, aggressive colors. So I decided to change it to a less aggressive, cool color so that there was more contrast and it was more appealing. So I decided to crop the image because it was feeling cramped and it was hard to read. You always want to think about how easy it is to read. What does it look like? Is it cluttered? Is it confusing? There needs to be a flow to the thumbnails you create so people can look at it and understand it and then click on it. You want them to click as fast as possible. You don't want them to be like stuck looking at your thumbnail trying to figure out what the heck it is. So with the crop adjusted, what I did is I put the character even more in the foreground. I zoomed him in. I made the text have a little more room to breathe and be in its own area, its own space. And then I went ahead and shaded everything. This is something I like to do with my thumbnails is I'll create a new layer and take a black brush and brush around the edges of the image. Then I'll turn the opacity of that layer down. And then you get this really cool vignette effect. And what this is going to do is help draw the viewer's eyes back to the center of your thumbnail. So in this case, the objects are in the center. That's where I want them to look. And that is what this vignette effect is going to do. So there you have it. That is our first thumbnail concept done. Now, a couple of things to consider when making thumbnails is there are different ways to say what you're trying to say. Some people use text, some people use imagery. So depending on the thumbnail you're making, you may not want to use text in it. Sometimes it's just the style of the video. Sometimes it just looks better. And sometimes you're in a crunch and don't want to have to try to put text on your thumbnail, which is totally understandable. So I also went ahead and made a design around the same theme, but without using text. So with this thumbnail, I chose Apex Legends, and this one doesn't have a character in the screenshot, which is something I like to do. I like to make my own background sometimes and add different elements and characters into it because it feels more unique. I put more work into it. It's not just a picture I found that I turned into a thumbnail. I combine all these elements and created something new with them. So I found this image of one of the Apex Legends maps, and then I chose a character to throw on there. My favorite character is Caustic, so I chose Caustic. Now I want to go with the PvP theme, the more aggressive tones. So first things first, I'm going to choose my background and my foreground. The background being the map, which I blur, and the foreground being the caustic character. Then I'll go ahead and start messing with the background. So I want to change the color so that it's more aggressive and it blends. So here you can see I start messing with the color. I decide to go against the full red background because the contrast is a little too high and it doesn't blend well. It looks like I just kind of threw it on there, which I did. So I decided to use a vignette effect, but with red. Now this is, I went with the idea of like you're in the game and you're being shot at and there's that red indicator that goes on your screen that you're low health. I wanted this to kind of resemble that and be easily visible. This thumbnail design is way simpler than the last one and took less time to make, but it still conveys the same message and is still a good thumbnail in my opinion. Now the last thing you want to consider when finalizing your thumbnail is the age-old question, does it pop? So what people mean by that and what they're trying to say is don't make it pop necessarily, but is it clear? Does it stand out? Is it going to catch people's attention? Is it easily readable from a far distance? So whenever you're designing anything, make sure to scroll out and see if you can still convey the same image, the same message from your design. I'll do this with logos, I'll do this with thumbnails, I'll do this with everything because nowadays everything is on mobile. So you want your things to be seen at a small size as well as a large size. So there you have it, guys. I know this was a short video. It wasn't much of a tutorial, but I do want to create tutorials in the future. So please leave a ton of comments about what kind of videos you want to see and what techniques you want to learn, what keybinds and anything regarding design that you would like to learn and see. I would be more than happy to teach you and explain some things. I just need you guys to let me know. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it, and hope you stick around to see the rest of the designing videos I make. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. That's a stupid outro. What the heck?